Good morning or good afternoon. We're happy that we're again able to share this video with you. Hopefully you're able to also get our sermons online. We just want to provide these opportunities for you. We send these out to our members, but we also make them public for all people as we're sharing God's Word. We want that to be made free for all people. Again, so happy that you're able to watch this video. What we're going to do is we're going to look at some updates, some things to be aware of for here at Somerset Church of Christ. We're going to take a moment to remind ourselves of the importance of prayer. And then we're going to take a look into God's Word in the book of Mark. And it's there where we're going to learn the important lesson for us about the burial of Jesus. So let's start out with a few announcements this morning. First things first is that it is Wednesday, so please don't forget about the phone call at 7 tonight. We're going through the book of Acts, and Dave, one of our elders, is teaching that class. We appreciate that. But tonight he's going to be doing Acts 7. We've made it through Acts chapter 1 through 6. Tonight we'll start in Acts chapter 7. Be prepared for that. Some of you may have heard, but Hannah and I will be out of town this weekend. We won't be here this evening either. So we won't be on the phone call. I'll be preaching in Indiana. And then come Sunday, we'll be in Indiana. We will hope to return and look forward to that. And so we just pray that everything goes well here and that you are being taken care of. With that mindset and thought, we are working on to have Sunday's sermon recorded for you. It is always recorded and then uploaded. We've talked a little bit, maybe looking more into the live streaming aspect of it. And so there are still more talks about that. But Sunday's lesson will be recorded. Mike Pittman will be, one of our other elders, will be the one preaching that morning. We appreciate him for stepping up and preaching. And so it's going to be recorded on Sunday, and the hopes are then Monday that I'll be able to upload it to Facebook and YouTube. Again, making sure that it is accessible to as many people as possible. And while Mike will be preaching in the morning, that evening on the phone call, Dave will be speaking. He'll be teaching that evening. And he sent out an email about what to be looking forward to talking about and discussing. So if you plan to be a part of that phone call on Sunday evening, then please make sure you have that email, read over it, be prepared for Sunday. And don't forget, as you have an opportunity to take these videos, to take the sermons and share those with people. We're trying to do our best of making things accessible. We're doing our best to make sure things are clear. People can get the sermons all in one playlist. They can get certain sermons together in a playlist. And again, that this is a tool not only for you and I to listen to these sermons at home and be a reminder to us, but also to take these lessons from God's Word and to share with friends and family members. As far as Sunday goes, we still plan on having a kids lesson at 10:15. So please be prepared for that. If you have any kids or grandkids in the elementary age group, then please be bringing them Sunday morning. Again, Mike teaches that class for them. We're so glad that that's an opportunity for them to have a lesson taught at their level. And don't forget, then on Sunday, if you're able to be here, worship begins at 10:30. And so we're thankful for all the men that serve when we come together. And we're certainly thankful for those that are able to make it out. It's an encouragement to us to see one another, to be reminded that we're not in this alone. The other things to announce is that we're helping schools. We made mention of this, I believe, at least last week, if not 2 weeks ago. But we are helping schools with supplies. Our local elementary schools in this area, we want to be able to give back. We want to help as we have the opportunity. And so we were contacted by Junction City Elementary School, and they need tissue boxes, hand soaps, hand sanitizers, and paper towels. And so we were asking for those items to be back on Sunday. I, of course, won't be here on Sunday. Be busy Monday to take those items. But as soon as I can, I will then load those things up, take them down to Junction City. And we've actually gotten an email from those at Thornville Elementary School, and they're going to be taking an inventory and seeing just exactly what they need and what we can help them with. So be on the outlook, for information about Thornville Elementary and what we need to do to help them as well. So I'm so thankful that we have this time to share with you some of these things, remind you of these things. But now we want to take a look at prayer. Prayer, you and I, is something that we can go to God's Word, and again from beginning to end, just to see how important it is to pray. To see the importance and the reason behind prayer. We looked at a few different verses. I want to share with you today about Luke 18, 1 through 8. As you have time, go back and look at that yourself. But Luke 18, 1 through 8, Jesus is speaking, and he's wanting to let his disciples know, he's wanting to let these men know the importance of prayer, the importance of always praying. And we talked about that when we looked at 1 Thessalonians. But what this is saying, and what Jesus expresses in this account, is the importance to keep praying, to keep asking. And he even goes and uses the description of day and night. Again, it's that continual asking, that continual prayer. That's not just something we do real early in the morning, that we forget about the rest of the day. It's not something that we leave till the end of the day, not knowing what's going to have happened. But yet day and night, as we have a concern, as we have a worry, as we have an opportunity to thank God for what he's done, we ought to be praying. So again, look at that account, Luke 18, 1 through 8, and just see exactly the example Jesus gives of these individuals and this woman going to the man, continually asking. You and I ought to also go to God continually. It's good that we make it known to him once. It's great if we remind him at least twice. But that's not enough. You and I, we must, if it is something that is truly important to us, we'll want to let God know just how much it means to us. So as you think about that today, then think about this. What is it that you can pray for today? What is it that you prayed about yesterday? And hopefully you'll take this lesson, and hopefully you'll be reminded that you need to pray about that again today. What is it that you prayed about this morning? How is it that you can pray about that again now? How is it that you can pray for that again later? Continually going to God, letting him know our requests, letting him know our struggles, our worries, letting him know of the things that we are thankful for, that we have. May we continue to be people who pray. And as we focus on the importance of prayer, as you are looking at Luke 18, I then just want to encourage you to also look at the book of Mark. Look at chapter 15, 46 through 47. We want to do that today. Mark 15, 46 through 47. This is the part of the video where we turn to God's Word. And we've been going through the book of Mark. And if I haven't said it before, I'm quite surprised of how long we spend in Mark. I thought I'd just be able to find a few things here and there. When we go to another book, we find some important things. And certainly there are some similarities between Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels. And so now we've came to this point of learning about Jesus and his suffering. We've talked about him being beaten. Last week we talked about his last breath and that finalization of death. But perhaps what even solidifies that is now we're going to be talking about the burial of Jesus. Mark 15, 46 through 47. It says this, "Then he bought fine linen, took him down and wrapped him in the linen, and he laid him in a tomb, which had been hewn out of the rock, and rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. And Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, observed where he was laid. I understand what is being said is that Joseph had taken Jesus, taken his body, wrapped him in linen, and put Jesus into a tomb. He was to be buried. He was no longer to be among the living. Jesus had died. Now he's going to be separated from the living. And again, as we read these things, as we talked last week about the last breath of Jesus, perhaps it's hard for some people to understand of why that's encouraging. And I hope last week, us looking at that, you and I as Christians saw that wonderfulness of Jesus taking his last breath. And I hope you and I, as we see Jesus being buried, know it's not the resurrection just yet, but I hope that you and I can still see the wonder that is in this burial of Jesus. If you were to look at Romans 6, then you'll see that Christians, children of God, are united with Christ. And we're united with Christ through baptism. And it's through that process that we're united with his death. Talked about that last week. And Jesus talked about Jesus being the sacrifice for us. That Jesus died for us. But also, it allows us to die to sin. Because of what Jesus did, because of his sacrifice, it tells us that we can die to sin. That's wonderful. Romans 6 would continue to go on and say that our old man of sin dies and needs to be buried. We are united with Christ in his death. Our death is a spiritual death, a death to sin. And that sin that is now dead must be buried, must be put away with. No longer clinging to us, no longer holding on to us, but must be separated, must be laid to rest for good. And then Ephesians 4 would go on to say that the man who continually sins has been put to rest. Again, that old man, that man who would live in sin, who is found guilty, has been put to rest. And now we get to live for Christ. So understand the importance of the burial then. Understand that importance of the burial is truly removing that thing that is dead. And in this case, being that old man of sin, that old woman of sin. Understanding that it is that removal, that it is not something that is just put to the side that may be picked up later, but of truly burying that old man of sin. To remove it from our lives. And again, that's exactly what happened with Jesus when he was buried. He was removed from society. He was no longer going out and preaching and teaching, but that Jesus had died. But as you and I may know from reading the Gospels, as you and I may know from reading the New Testament, Jesus does not remain buried. But when he is risen, he's not risen as he was before. Yet now, there's something new and something different about Jesus. And so that's what the hope that you and I have. If we're truly able to lay that old man of sin, if we're truly able to lay down who he used to be, to bury that, then you and I can now live differently. Now you and I can be new, changed. While we were servants of evil, wickedness, and sin, now we can be servants of God. Now we can be servants of Christ. True followers. Truly obedient and faithful to God. So how thankful we are to learn about the burial of Christ. It is, again, that imagery that helps us as Christians, as we see it in the world today, of truly that separation. And to know that that's the separation that we ought to have from sin. No longer going back to it. No longer being able to pick it back up. To allow it to dwell in our lives, but truly separate ourselves. And it's when we are truly separated from sin, no longer living in sin, that we can be blameless, that we can be spotless, that we can be cleansed, and we can look to our eternal reward. I hope this has been encouraging to you. I hope, again, that you would look at these short 2 verses and see how wonderful it is. Take a look at Romans 6. Take a look at Ephesians 4. So glad you're able to hear about our announcements. Be reminded about prayer. Again, Hannah and I will not be here Sunday, but if you're able, I do hope that you're able to make it here. Hope that you're able to encourage one another, sing. I hope all goes well.